the absolute, when shown through the prism that is Luke consciousness, looks a certain way, and it looks like the things that you're passionate about. Same with everybody. Same with Chris. You know, when the absolute principle shines through the prism of Chris consciousness, it looks like this. You know what I mean? And when you take out the sense of identification with the one that's doing that, the person that's doing that, or with with you as the doer itself, when that's all released and removed, that shit shines through even more brilliantly and
Yeah,
harmonious with life.
dude, it's like it's like cleaning the dust off a crystal.
Totally, dude. That's
You
exact.
know?
That's such a good like. That's such a good metaphor. That's exactly what it's like. Hey, we're back.
Hey, so you were, I think you left off with the sparkler on the forehead.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially the end of that story. I mean, and that kind of kicked off the whole Kundalini thing, you know.
Yeah.
And by Kundalini thing, I just mean, you know, spontaneous and strange energetic movements, like especially when I
Mhm.
would meditate or get close to the space, like things that would happen would be like my feet would get hot and my hands would get hot, and like the center of my forehead would I'd get that sparkler feeling,
Yeah.
like like kind of randomly, but also mostly just when I was like authentic with myself. You know what I
Mhm. Mhm.
mean? Like things would just kind of heat up, it felt like. And then yeah, and that kind of, at least bodily energy, Kundalini wise, that kind of culminated uh with with Jake's death, and that kind of like final clearing out of energy, it felt like. But there was, you know, millions of moments between then and that, as
Yeah.
happens to everybody, it seems.
Do you want to hear cool things that I thought about you or I wanted to tell you about that I heard in school,
Sure do.
both like officially and unofficially?
Hmm.
One of them, holy shit. I asked the teacher if you ever heard about tray panning, where like you like a guy drilled a hole in his skull to change the pressure of his brain so it'd be more like how he was it is like when you're a child, and it's supposed to be this like transformative thing, like transform your awareness or consciousness like permanently. um Fucking professor was telling me about people he knew. There's like a Tibetan practice of like massaging the bone plates of the skull, um breaking them loose from the sutures. So it's the same thing, decompressing the brain by like essentially breaking the connection between the sutures of the skull.
Other shit, that's
Isn't
fucking
that nuts?
that's so extreme.
I know. I know. And another thing that was cool was like well, talking about like some take whoops, I'm standing on a ball. Um fell. But um medical qigong. So I'm going to be taking some medical qigong courses. So it's like using qigong to like for healing.
Mhm.
Um, one of the things he said about it last week. I'm not taking it yet. I'm taking it next term. But he was saying that first you have to be nobody in order to move the chi.
Mm,
And
that's exactly this.
I was like, hell yes, hell yes, yep. Um, and it's cool. It's cool too because when I'm doing qigong, I slip into it's like a very like relaxing into that setting back state. Or like sometimes another way I can describe it is like the felt energy. Like when you're saying you felt like your hands are really hot, your feet really hot. Um, if I tune into my body sensations, I can feel that most of the like heat and energy is like hanging out up here.
Mm.
And then I would assume that accumulation then like grabs hold of the sense of identity, you know. When I'm doing qigong, that condensed heat and activity is just evenly distributed across the whole body.
Hmm.
And it's less of this like sensed location of self being here, but more fully incorporated in the body.
I imagine, especially during Qigong, it being fairly easy to just slip past the sense of doership or past the person that's doing this into just like the the awareness of the one who's doing this because the movements are subtle and slow, right? And
Totally.
like kind of rhythmic and and flowy. And so like to become to slip into the space of like what essence is aware of this movement and also what essence is aware of the one doing this movement, and just staying there throughout the movement. I imagine, I know nothing about this firsthand, but I imagine that would allow the energy to flow more uninhibited.
I think it's appropriate to say. I think that's accurate. And also too, like some of it is like visualizations and being in such a relaxed and also like moving state. Um, this is something new too that I'm becoming more conscious of like, and it makes sense of like when people are praying to like a deity or a mantra and they're embodying it, they're training themselves to identify as that deity.
Hmm.
And it's not so much about like, I mean, it could, but embodying that like idealized form. But it's also about then realizing like, oh, if I can fully become that deity, then this sense of me is actually not as stable or concrete or real than I thought it is. And
Hmm.
so I bring it to Qigong as like one of the movements. I'm like drawing earth energy and filling up my whole body. And the saying I use is like, if my body is solid as the earth, then my mind is as vast as the sky. And
Hmm.
I've had brief clearings of identity where there was no loop, there was no me. It was just being and
Perfect.
awareness. And especially with that particular one.
Hmm.
And it was just like, and so that's something I like about qigong is it's like moving my body, it's meditative and like look, and it changes my body too and how it feels. And then there's these like really kind of beautiful and flowery and um, visualizations and names that go with things and embodiment, or like there's the different animal frolics and you can really embody the animals. And it's just this like multifaceted thing where it's like I'm improving the health of my body, I'm changing my brain, and also my identity is becoming less concrete. It's becoming
Hmm.
more permeable. And so it's just this like, so when you ask me like what would be something that feels authentic to me, that's you know, I my identity as being like an artist that I want to create like this art book that like, and I still might, but I want to embed like spiritual teachings into an art book because I feel like, or like a story or like an animation because it's like, I think of Avatar: The Last Airbender
Hmm.
and like talking about the chakras and like spiritual journeys, and I was like, that's so cool that that was like in a kids show and it's
Yeah.
actually so accurate. It's like,
It's good.
yeah, and it's like it's wholesome and it's like this nourishing, it feels like a really nourishing media to consume. And I want to like make something like that. And part of it's also like visualizing a future for humanity and this planet in a direction that is good, and to just even plant that seed of a possibility. Because if I'm dreaming it, then other people can dream it. And then like the small scale of I'm imagining myself as all these different things and realizing I can transform into that, then that can happen at a humanity scale
Hmm.
too. but then also, so that's like kind of like a grand vision. But then also like an authentic thing is just like I love teaching classes and those fitness classes. I fucking love it. I feel my most confident, best self when I do it most of the time. And then even more so when I'm doing Qigong because I'm not so concerned on correcting everyone or, whether they get a good workout or not. And like most of the movements are pretty accessible. Like, people who have limited strength or skill or whatever can access these pretty well. And they change people. Like I had this one person who we were doing something with like the solar plexus and he felt like he had his eyes closed and he thought like me or someone else like plucked his shirt like that.
Mhm.
And he had like a movement of a removal of energy, a block in his like solar plexus. And then for like the next couple of weeks I saw him doing more things, like taking more action in things he's interested in. And he didn't even know that they were correlated. So it's,
That's beautiful.
yeah. So I feel like Qigong is one of those things that's like a daily offering. And it's something, I can use my visualization and my, skill of like poetry and describing things and also like, visual creativity and movement. And it's just this integrated thing that I just fucking love. Just fucking love it, and
I I fucking love that for you. And the great thing about these sort of non-dual realizations and embodying just the pure awareness that's always present is that doesn't stop. And in fact, the removal of an identifier or an identification with that or a doer of that lets that happen more freely. Like the absolute, when shown through the prism that is Luke consciousness, looks a certain way, and it looks like the things that you're passionate about. Same with everybody, same with Chris. When the absolute principle shines through the prism of Chris consciousness, it looks like this. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? And when you take out the sense of identification with the one that's doing that, the person that's doing that, or with with you as the doer itself, when that's all released and removed, that shit shines through even more brilliantly and
yeah,
harmoniously with life.
dude, it's like it's like cleaning the dust off a crystal.
Totally, dude. That's
you
exact.
know
That's such a good metaphor. That's exactly what it's like.
yeah,
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 in
that's
the
cool.
non-dual space, it's said like polishing the mirror, I think is often a reference. But yeah, it's
Well,
the same thing.
and I get it because I I was gonna say I've been there, but rather Luke has disappeared
Yes.
before, and like crave it. Like I want. It's that and a you know yeah.
Well,
It's the reason why I just keep going
yeah.
with meditation because it's like I'm not trying to force it in the moment and I'm not trying to hold on to it in the moment, but it's the reason why I just keep showing up and why I
Well,
keep inquiring during the day,
yeah.
too.
I mean, honestly, this is why everybody does anything. It's because everybody wants to feel happy. Everybody is in search for contentment or just peace. And this
Yeah.
is that. They don't know that this is that usually, unless you're in, advaita or non-dual circles. But this is that. This is that final resting place. This is that
Hmm.
peace. This is that fulfillment. The fulfillment that isn't like achieving something. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because as soon as you achieve something, you look for the next thing. So it isn't that.
Yeah.
It's like the bliss of nothing. But in the bliss of nothing is the full representation of everything in its full aliveness. And those words, of course, make no sense, but you know what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And also, what's interesting that while you were speaking, I tuned into it a little bit more than I usually do. But even our language points to this. So you said my identification leaves. So it's not you as the identification, it's my identification. So what essence does the identification belong to then? That's
Hmm.
what's never investigated. When you say my body, okay, so you have this innate recognition that you are not your body. Okay, then who is my? Who is me? What is this essence that you're saying every time you say my body, but no one ever investigates what essence does this body belong to?
What's funny too is the times that identity has blipped out, there was a complete loss of the possessive and defensive quality of my and me and mine. Just
And that
gone.
and that's why this is inherently peaceful. That's why and how peace comes to earth through all of humanity is through people's recognition of this. Because when you recognize this and as you abide in this, you become inherently peaceful. It's just one of the natural qualities of merging with your true essence. And
Yeah,
honestly, that's what humanity and earth need at this time more than anything.
totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's kind of like also funny that there's this felt sense of urgency around it and the blossoming of it, not just in myself, but in, humanity. But like the urgent approach doesn't seem to work.
Right. But I love that you said it seems kind of funny because that is the cosmic joke, right? That there's
Yeah.
a sense of urgency gaining what always is and what is always timeless and changeless. And so,
Mhm.
what is the urgency? But you're right, it's there.
Well, I think the sense of urgency I get is like, boy, I really wouldn't want to see humanity self-destruct. I'd like
Right,
to see
totally.
them. I'd like to see us all succeed and grow into our potential.
Me too.
You
That's
know,
what,
we'd be a cool animal.
dude, we're fucking cool as it is. We just gotta chill the fuck out and be a little kinder to each other. you know,
Totally.
Earth is pretty lit. Humanity's pretty lit. Like
Yeah.
all the other apparitions of consciousness are fucking cool here. Let's keep this shit going. But non-attachment too is of even that. You do the best you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Because again, it's like, well, who's even running the show?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. When you start asking the ultimate questions, then it's like, yeah,
Dude, I'm fine. Do you want to come? Do you want to go surfing ever?
dude, I'm so afraid of sharks. But yeah,
There's a lot of great whites in near Santa Cruz.
I know.
There's like in Aptos, there's because that's where I live in Aptos. There's two rivers that go into the ocean, and the juvenile great whites just hang out by the river mouths and just like
Bruh.
gobble up fish.
Fucking hungry, hungry hippo. You just happen to be cruising through. God dang. I don't know, man. Like,
There's like a beginner spot that I'm gonna go to that they said where like the sharks hang out like north, kind of near
mm,
that like Shark Fin Cove that you and I went to,
mm-hmm,
and then south like in Aptos. But there's a place in the middle, kind of near the boardwalk.
mm.
I think we saw people surfing there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
like a
I
good
remember it.
beginner spot and not too many sharks. It's funny when I'm swimming with other people, I feel fine.
Mm-hmm.
But like even in places I know there's not scary things. If I'm swimming by myself, oh my God. Like I would regularly try to swim in Lake Michigan and just swim out into the deep part until I could see way deep
Mm,
and just like try to calm my fear down.
mm,
Or like even at Horsetooth in Colorado, like there's nothing there. It's a flooded valley, you know?
mm-hmm.
Um, but I'll go out there and swim and I'm just be like just like trying to
Yeah,
like calm myself down. But I would and yeah. And here there's actually things that will take a foot off.
yeah, a lot more than that, actually. I mean, yeah, maybe the babies will get a foot, but there's some honkers down there. But yeah, I'd probably be down. I'd be sketched, but I'd be down. I'd definitely be peeing in my wetsuit. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's what everyone does.
Oh, okay, cool.
Also, here's my bag of hair.
What the fuck? Why'd you keep that?
I was gonna do like a little thank you send off. Actually, I was gonna take a little bit and do like a little ritual thing.
Hmm.
Um, and then I was gonna donate the rest, but I think the lady cut it too short. I don't think it's long enough to donate,
Oh yeah, maybe.
which is a
Dude, I just
bummer.
imagine you doing a ritual and like burning it. You'd be like, this fucking stinks.
Yeah.
Throwing it out the window or something.
Oh
Fuck
yeah,
that ritual.
I'm not gonna do the ritual inside.
It's the worst ritual ever. I think you're like, I think I just sent out a curse.
Yeah. The wall smells like hair. Everyone's gagging.
That's
Nothing
fucking.
like a good purge.
Oh fuck.
How have those been going?
Good, man. I love talking to
Yeah.
people. Yeah, I love talking to people that are interested in this, and especially when there's a clear effect, when there's a clear release of attention that was held. You
Mm,
know, when you see that, you recognize that, or they see that, they recognize that, and I see that kind of loosening and relaxation come over them. That's very nice.
mm,
You know,
hmm. Yeah.
when you see people, you know, that are stuck in a certain identity or stuck with a certain concept of self, and you see that sort of be put down for a little while, you know, released for a little while at least, and there's a sense of calm and peace that enters into their experience. You know, that's nice. And every
Hmm.
like I always put up this little quote, quote myself, how fucking arrogant is but
Cool, Chris.
yeah, right. But I fucking really mean it, and I really believe it that like everybody deserves to know their fundamental nature, because in that is the recognition of peace. You know, there is a joy that's causeless and independent of any object in awareness. You know, there's if when you find that there's a quality of being that isn't dependent on any external circumstance, and you can truly recognize that in your direct experience and find the peace that comes with it and find the sort of just like inherent low hum of joy in that, like everybody deserves to know that is readily available for them. You know, there's way too much suffering in this world, and a lot of that suffering is just a tension between reality and the way they want reality to be. And
Mm,
that
hmm.
tension is so easily released when it's truly recognized that all it
Mm,
takes is for you to just release your demand on reality looking a certain way.
hmm.
And it's just that
Yeah.
simple guidance, you know, and just hearing that for some people is enough to get them to just, ah, okay, I can just let it be what it is, you mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you can fucking drop the oars. Life is intelligent. Life
Hmm.
takes care of life, you know. The flower doesn't, you know, force itself any certain way to bloom any certain way, to have any sort of vibrancy of color. You know, the flower just blooms. Life is intelligent. There's no doer in the flower. Is the tree the doer of the flower, or is the plant the doer of the flower, of the blossoming? Is the water that's feeding the plant the doer of the blossoming? Is the soil the doer of the blossoming? Is
Yeah,
the
is it the season?
right? Is it the season? Is it the carbon dioxide? The what is the doer of the blossoming of a flower? Like where is it? And you can't
Hmm.
point to it. It's
Hmm.
everything. It's all factors. And the same with
Hmm.
the human being.
Absolutely. In the description that you said of seeing people relax into their being and into that joy that's there, that's what it seems like a lot of Chinese medicine is about too, is
Mhm.
like getting them at a mental and embodied understanding that nothing is solid and nothing stays. Everything is can change.